At the very beginning of the film, a man suddenly wakes up, frightened by a strange noise. But what exactly was that noise? When he steps outside to check, we see a bizarre-looking creature appear. From a distance, this creature throws a knife at the man, instantly severing his head from his body. This terrifying being is introduced to us as the Boogeyman. The scene then cuts, and we meet Eric, a man who hasn't spent much time with his family lately because of his new project. When his wife complains that he doesn't give enough time to the family, Eric replies, "Just let this project succeed, and then we'll go on a vacation." At that moment, his little son gives him a drawing he made. Eric notices that in the drawing, there is a house with a man in front of it, and behind the man, a strange creature. When Eric asks him about it, the boy says, "This is the boogie who cuts and eats people." Eric is shocked and asks, "Who told you such scary things?" The boy replies, "You did. You told me about the boogie later." We learn that Eric isn't really going to the office for overtime. Instead, he is planning to spend the weekend with a female friend at a cabin deep inside the forest. When they arrive, his friend feels uneasy about the place and says, "This cabin feels weird." But Eric reassures her, "There's no safer place than this. We just have to adjust for 2 days." As his friend goes to change clothes, Eric sits on the sofa and feels something poking in his pocket. It's his son's drawing. Looking closely, Eric realizes the cabin drawn by his son looks exactly like the one they are staying in now. But he brushes it off and throws the drawing aside. That evening, his friend again says, "At night, this cabin feels even scarier. It reminds me of nightmares I had as a child, where I was trapped in a cabin just like this." Moments later, as she goes downstairs, she hears footsteps in the cabin. Outside, we see the boogeyman has arrived, searching for new prey. When she steps outside to investigate, she sees a strange green glow. In trance, she slowly walks toward the forest. The glow hypnotizes her, pulling her deeper into the woods. Suddenly, she becomes aware again, terrified, trying to escape, but some unseen force drags her further in. Out of nowhere, the boogeyman appears behind her. As she turns, she stumbles in fear. Without hesitation, the boogeyman plunges his massive knife into her neck, brutally decapitating her, just as he did with the first victim. Blood seeps into the soil, and the monster claims another kill. Unaware of this, Eric is still in the cabin, sitting on the bed. Suddenly, his room door opens, and the boogeyman silently enters. But Eric doesn't even notice. The scene cuts to the next morning. Now Eric's group of friends arrive. Kelvin, who has just come out of rehab for drugs, already hates the place, because such isolated areas make him crave substances even more. Tim and his wife, on the other hand, are excited and love the atmosphere. Kelvin grows irritated when Eric doesn't even come downstairs to greet them. Inside the cabin, Kelvin notices a half-filled glass of wine on the table, the one Eric's friend poured last night. He's tempted to drink it, but before he can, a loud scream pierces the air upstairs. Everyone rushes up and finds Tim's wife horrified. She has just seen Eric's dead body in a gruesome state. The friends are shaken. They argue with Eric's choices: the creepy cabin, the lack of supplies, his strange behavior. This turns into a heated fight, and eventually Eric storms off, leaving them behind. Kelvin, overwhelmed with stress, begins scavenging for alcohol. He even drinks leftover beer from the trash. All the while unseen, the boogeyman is watching him. Later, Kelvin notices Tim's wife changing clothes upstairs and secretly spies on her. Suddenly, she sees a shadow outside the window. Not Kelvin, but the boogeyman's silhouette. That night, the group plays poker, but Kelvin feels increasingly restless. He sneaks into Eric's things, finds only cigarettes, and smokes despite his rehab. His friends catch him and accuse him of cheating his recovery, but he denies it. To distract them, Kelvin begins telling the eerie legends of the forest, about the boogeyman who hunts people here. Tim dismisses it, but his wife grows terrified. The tension grows. Kelvin feels isolated, hallucinating more due to the bizarre substances he has consumed. At dinner, he sees raw flesh instead of food, and imagines his friends devouring meat like savages. In reality, they were only eating noodles. Meanwhile, Eric, lost in the forest, encounters the same green glow. Hypnotized, he walks deeper until the boogeyman suddenly attacks and devours him alive. Eric is gone. Back at the cabin, Kelvin's condition worsens. He drinks mouthwash mixed with tablets, vomits, and suffers severe pain. When he seeks help, his friends scold him instead. Feeling unloved, Kelvin spirals further into despair. Later, he stumbles upon campers in the forest, tries to explain the strange voices he hears, voices of murder. But they dismiss him, saying he must be hallucinating. They offer him cigarettes, trying to calm him down. Kelvin climbs a tree and spots shadows in the woods, but finds no one when he investigates, until Tim appears, searching for him. Together they wander, but when a mysterious green light appears, Tim is drawn toward it, ignoring Kelvin's desperate pleas. Moments later, Tim is brutally killed by the boogeyman, left with a gaping hole in his stomach. Kelvin runs back to the cabin, panicked, telling Tim's wife what happened. She is horrified. Together they try to plan an escape, but as they open the door, the boogeyman is already waiting. Terrified, they rush back inside. Kelvin, now half-crazed, covers his head with a pan and forces Tim's wife to do the same, believing it will block the creature from reading their minds. But paranoia, drugs, and fear consume him. Mistaking shadows for the monster, Kelvin bludgeons Tim's wife to death with a frying pan, thinking he was killing the boogeyman. When he realizes what he's done, his mind collapses. Looking in the mirror, he fears he's becoming the boogeyman himself. Suddenly, the boogeyman appears, speaking directly to him. It thanks Kelvin, because unknowingly, Kelvin has been helping it all along. Horrified, Kelvin denies it, but the boogeyman laughs. Soon, Kelvin too begins to laugh maniacally, as if realizing his fate. Post-credit scene. A new group of friends arrives at the same cabin. While one of them is placing supplies in the kitchen, the boogeyman suddenly appears, stabbing her in the stomach. Her friends, unaware of the danger, remain inside, laughing and chatting. In the final shocking reveal, we see Kelvin, dressed like the boogeyman, hiding in a room. Now the monster's true partner. The movie ends.